secondary device with like an existing music player.
So it could be your phone or something.
Right.
So it connects to your phone.
Yeah, it would have
Or an app.
Bluetooth or some communication with your phone or your player or whatever you're using.
Does it have, so does it go around to both sides of your?
No, it
one
is
side?
just on the inside.
So would you use earphones with it on both sides, or would you, is that a earphone?
It's not an earphone. One of the possible, I guess, developments that was brought up last time I presented was maybe adding like a bone conduction earphone on the one side with it.
So you would use that along with your phone and your earphones, right? Okay.
It's interesting when you look at the number of, say, social fitness smart devices that do have to rely on that interaction and engagement with the smartphone. And I sometimes wonder if it's just a commercial thing where they're trying to have you controlled by that brand. So it's interesting that you want the user to define how technology benefits them, opposed to the other way around. In terms of a commercial point of view, maybe the manufacturers want to get you to be part of that system that they provide. So that's maybe something to consider, not necessarily in this project now, but in the future thing. Do you have a one-size-fits-all, or are you relying on a third party to essentially join forces with?
Yeah, I feel like in terms of this project, I really feel like it's sort of easy to just piggyback onto the fact that almost everybody already has a music player. So giving you another music player isn't necessarily, I guess, that beneficial in my eyes. But
I think the thing is that by doing that, I think you've missed how this device connects to the person's music. So, for example, how does that know what my music library is, and how does it then, from that music library, select the music that's of the right emotional pitch for me, or it knows how it wants to moderate my moods? So there's a wee bit in between, like a little controller or some piece of intelligence that
and
needs
there
to
are
connect to.
algorithms out there that can already look at a music library and select the music based on an emotion you provide it.
But how does your device talk to that, which then talks to the music? You know, I'm just
Right.
I think just to make it a little bit more, to join the dots basically, is just say, here's, okay, there are these other products out there, but here's my take on how it would work, just to explain it, because if we're not familiar with those apps and things like that, then at least you could say, well, there are these apps out there, but here's how typically how it would work. It would just help us to believe it.
Okay.
I like the fact that it's an emotion tracker rather than it's doing something. As you said, it's not something that a manufacturer would essentially go into. It's for the user. But I agree. It needs more about how it would actually interact with the user, how your user use it rather than just put it on there. Is there for example, my iPod is full of crap music that is on there, but it's still mine. If I put it to the genre of like something I would run to, or are you able to, oh wait, I don't like this song, I'm not wanting this, are you able to skip track?
Yeah, how I envision it working is basically with voice commands. So yeah, you just tell it to skip. I don't want to listen to this, you know.
Okay.
But I don't want to.
Did you ever speak to Erin, one of our fifth year students? She's looking at music therapy for people that suffer from depression. What you're talking about with autism, she's working with some experts in musical therapy. I'm pretty sure she was talking recently about autistic kids as well and how to benefit. So, you know, if there was potential for you to have time to explore it further, that would have been a good opportunity. So I can introduce you to her at some point, because I'm sure she'll gain something from what you've done as well.
Okay.
Here's the mail. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on the list, I think it's behind that one. Yep. So. Will I give you a prompt, Taylor, when you've got a minute to go?
Yeah.
Go to the movies.
took a few things away from it. One was interactive, true to life audio, and lasting quality. And so after thinking about that, the first thing that came to my mind was a jukebox. So I decided to do a more modern take on that. And so I started researching and talking to people, and I kind of found out that most people are starting to listen to their music through their smartphones. And that they like to share their music through their phones. And so I want to incorporate that into the jukebox. So I also started looking at the vinyl jukeboxes to see what really made them, popular. And so, although they have a limited selection of music, they draw a lot of attention to themselves through just lights and movements. And then there's also the interaction of going up to the machine, making a payment, and selecting the song. So I wanted to kind of keep with that idea. And then thinking about the location, be in any sort of social space. And so most likely pubs or bars. And so because of that, it needs to be durable to withstand, any sort of rough usage or drinks being spilled on it. And it also needs to be easy to use. So then I started kind of trying to draw up different concepts. And so one of the first ones I had was very similar to the original jukebox. And then I came up with a more modern one. It's kind of like almost a wall art, and it's a totally app-controlled device. And then I thought of like a smart table that you could connect the phone to. And then I kind of merged all those into the final design. And so we have like sapphire glass screens to be durable, a strip LEDs going around it to kind of make it glow and just create attention to it. And then it would also have a Tactus touch screen. Now the Tactus technology, I'll get to in a little bit, very interesting. Kind of creates a physical button on the display that can basically just appear when you need it. And then it would also have like a smart panel screen on the bottom that you can set your phone on. And so how it works. So you have the smart panel, you set your phone on it, and it uses NFC to basically connect the phone to the jukebox and have the music library show up on the touch screen. And then that can also be used for mobile payments, like Apple Pay. And then it'll use wireless electricity. And then the top screen is basically displaying whatever song is currently playing in a fun, interesting way. And then you have the Tactus touch screen, so you can scroll through all the albums. And then the albums will you'll have a feel to them because of the Tactus technology. And now to better demonstrate how it works, I have a video. Well, let's see if this one works.
So happy these days.
Just do a right click on it, on the open web.
Should bring up quick.
Right click is 2 fingers click.
Use the control key. Use the control key and the click. So
There you go. And then
You'll see this, yeah, you'll see that.
a generation where there's also queued and a jukebox. I take it that would still happen. You'd have like a digital queue potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So that you still wouldn't know necessarily when your song's gonna play.
yeah. Would you also booze if the people in the pub didn't like?
Could be.
Taking a step back to where you were previously with the intro presentation and developments that you've made in terms of how people interact with it. Payless, sorry, the non-contact payments, what's sort of going on, that's made sense. I sometimes wonder though how I would feel if I went to this machine and I'd already paid to digitally download the track, and then I was expected to then pay 59 pence or whatever it is then to listen to it in the public setting. Well, I suppose it's that experience, isn't it? You know, it's that enjoyment of sharing your music. Or
I mean, sadly, all the laws about copyright, just being able to play the music in a public space, you wouldn't be able to just play it for free.
So that payment, I suppose, helps protect the publican or the club owner or whatever,
Yeah.
and license agreements, etc. Is in place for the purpose.
Is the NFC only for the payment aspect of it? It's not you can play your own music off the phone or anything like that?
Can you say that again, sorry?
The NFC is only for payment. It's not so that you can play.
It's
your
also
music.
to play your music for
Oh, you
the
can do that as
device.
well.
It would transfer a temporary copy of the song
Okay.
to the device.
Okay. I think there's a great market there, actually. Especially for, I mean, there's so many music bands, music bars in Glasgow, and there's so much potential for people to even take their own band's music in and play it and let other people listen
They
to
kind
it.
of promote
and-
themselves.
Yeah, and let people boo them off. And that's pretty cool, actually. I really like the fact that because I've been in bars and there's a lot of apps now where you can download the app in the bar and then select music from their list and then it'll play in the bar. But you're just sitting at the table with your mates, all huddled in a little group, rather than the tangible aspect of getting up and walking up to this machine. It's all there and stuff. And I like the fact that you've slimmed it down, but it's still there, so it's not taking up the whole bar, and people wouldn't be thinking, I don't want to have this because it's less customers, less space for that. I think it's pretty cool. It's really good.
Well, thank you.
Can you put the presentation back up again? So, it was just the slide that you had, the research, was it the research one? This one, insights. So when you were talking to people, were you talking to people actually in pubs in that kind of environment, or was it, did you go into the sort of
No.
full immersive experience kind of thing, or?
No, I just interviewed a few people in my building that they normally go out to the pubs.
But you did find a few pubs in Glasgow that had, because remember we were talking about jukeboxes and actually going
Built
into,
it up is.
yeah, Velvet Elvis, that's it. So it was, yeah, you did an element of that, I seem to recall.
So what were the key things that you took from the user insights to inform the features in the actual jukebox? You know, like the way, because you had the various touch panels, and you had there was the big screen, and then there's the touch screen, and then there's the phone. So from what you got from your users, how did that inform how you laid it out, or what elements you used? Or?
I kind of went more with the personal preference of how I would like to see it.
Okay. You just wonder how you came up with it, how you know? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I hope you weren't terrified because we actually still remember happy days.
Just go watch that show all the time.
And you would be able to get that tune out your head. Twice recently, do that.
That's just a physical model of what I envision.
Do you want to signal
Yes,
on
please.
that?
Yes, my name is Shrish, and I've been working on this device of mine called SoundCone. Now I have named it SoundCone. So carrying forward from the interim presentation, sorry, but then you'll get to know what it is in the later slides. But then my last presentation had two forms of this device, SoundCone. One was a wearable device, another one was a speaker which you could keep on a flat surface. But since then, I have evolved it to be a single design, so that it's now a 6 centimeter diameter disc, which could be used both as a wearable and a speaker. So yeah, it was basically a 3D model, but then you have the physical model to look at. If you look at the physical model, then the top surface of it is now symmetrical. So it's symmetrical, and the bottom surface of it has a slot in it. That slot actually conceals another new technology, which I'm proposing right now. I'm not sure if it would work out, but then that technology doesn't really exist in that small form. It's called MagGrip technology. How it would work, see it in the later slides. But then the SoundCone, the device, how it works is all the speakers that we are having right now, when they produce sound, the sound is dispersed through the environment, leading to unsolicited audience, or they just disturb people around you. But with this device, if you keep it like right now, if you keep it beneath a chair, it would produce a cone of sound with discrete boundaries. So only you would be able to hear the music you want to listen to. Or inversely, how it could work is it could work in a noise cancellation mode, and it could block out all the ambient noise around you, and there would be a cone of silence in which you would be sitting in. So one part of the MagGrip technology, that's the slot beneath the disc, how it works like kind of electromagnet. So you could place SoundCone at the support bar of your chair, or probably in your car on your window, or stick it on the frame of your bicycle and still ride your bicycle with music on. It would emit a cone of sound directed towards you, and you could just use it wherever you want. The wearable aspect of it. So now, because the top surface of it is symmetrical, you don't have to fiddle around when you are using it as a belt clip. You could use it as a belt clip, but you don't have to worry about the up or down side of it. You can wear it either way. Now, the other thing with the MagGrip tech that I envision it to be is that MagGrip tech is kind of a similar technology which bullet trains use. It's called a maglev technology. So what it will do is, if you bring the clip close to your belt, it would grip the two ends of your belt, and it would make them slide on top of each other, and it would tighten your belt for you. You don't have to fiddle around with your belt to tighten it. So MagGrip technology would do it for you. The last part of the same technology, if adapted in an industrial sense, we can make a mat out of it. Right now, in industries, heavy noise-making machine, when you're working around it, you have to wear earplugs, you have to wear earmuffs to protect your ears and to comply with the noise pollution that they make. What you can do is, if we have the same technology put around that machine, that high noise making machine, what we can do is we can have them, we can have SoundMet cancel the noise produced by the machine, and all the area around that machine would be perfectly safe to use without any noise. So it would lead to better compliance. That's all. Thank you.
So how does the speaker work to create that focused cone?
Yes, so currently this technology actually exists there's a military technology called LRadar, and how it works is those small speakers that you see, those small cylindrical things that you see, are ultrasonic transmitters. They emit audio signal at 40 kilohertz of frequency. So when you use such a high frequency, then you can have a clear boundary of audio. And how you can listen to it is that 40 kilohertz frequency is modulated with audible sound. But that 40 kilohertz frequency is cancelled by another opposite signal, which is emitted by the opposite cylinder to it, so that 40 kilohertz frequency is cancelled, and all that remains is the audible frequency that it is modulated with.
So it's creating like a 40 kilohertz envelope.
Yes,
and
yes,
the
just for the boundary, but it can cancel at exactly the same point. Like if there's a audio wave there, the 40 kilohertz signal is getting cancelled there, but what's remaining is the audible sound. So that's how it can have the discrete boundary.
Okay. So why does it have the angle?
Yeah, because
Bits, and then on the other one, when you showed it was a flat mat.
yes, because once you use it as a wearable, once you put it on your belt, then no matter which way you use it, if you use it this way, then the bottom part of it would get active, and it would be able to direct a sound towards you. And so if you use it this way or that way, it would still be able to direct sound towards you.
And they're on a fixed angle, can you adjust them? Or-
No, it's a fixed angle.
So is it,
You do not need to do much with it. You just have to put it there and it will work.
so they're all phased to create a kind of phased array effect?
Yes, the distance between them is really important.
Right.
They're phased so that they would deconstructively
So you
interfere.
effectively could steer the beam.
Sorry.
You could effectively steer the beam. Well, which is what you're doing to, if you're wearing it here, you're steering
Yes,
it up this way. But you can steer it
I would imagine that the circuit board would have a gyroscope, so it would know if you're wearing it this way or that way. So accordingly, it would activate the bottom part, the bottom half of the device.
And, sorry, you go.
How does it work with if you put it below the chair with the two angles? Does it modulate them together so that they make an upright cone?
Yes, I would assume it so. So that once you have it like straight,
Yeah.
probably if you have both of them activated, then probably this half would go towards that, and this half would go towards that, and that's how you produce a cone. It doesn't necessarily have to be like they don't necessarily have to work that way. They can work this way and that way.
Okay. So you had it on a bicycle.
Yes.
Do you think it could be potentially like dangerous if the cyclists can't hear anything
Yes.
else that's going on?
Yes.
Around them?
It's the same. Yes, it could be very, but I imagine that once we have that kind of technology, we would have enough technology to identify what noise we want to hear and what we not. Like if I start using it now, like underneath your chair, and there's a fire alarm going on, and you have it on noise cancelling mode, you probably won't hear fire alarm going off. So we perhaps would have something to train it that okay, these kind of noises you have to let me listen.
So like over like a certain level of sound it becomes loud.
Probably yes.
Okay.
First, the 40 kilohertz, you
Yes.
wouldn't really need to cancel it. Human ear can't hear it. So it's creating a cone, is that right?
Right.
And then within that cone, you can play audible.
Yes.
So if it was under the seat,
Yes.
and you had frequencies that were audible to the human ear,
Yes.
they would be kind of dispersed and they wouldn't sound very good. Like if you stick a really good quality speaker under your seat, it's still going to sound a bit shit.
Right.
So for me, why is it about creating this cone in a space that isn't, when you've only got 2 ears here?
Right.
So normally, for
Because
example,
you
it's
could
like
still work. You don't. First of all, how I came up with this was when I was doing my research, people actually told me that they were feeling constrained about something, putting physical
Okay.
onto them just to listen to music. So that's how I came to this. And about the 40 kilohertz thing, that you need to cancel it because you need to get the audible signal. Otherwise, if you if you try to listen to what is coming out of it, you would not be able to hear it at all. If you try to listen to what individual ultrasonic transmitters are emitting. But once the 40 kilohertz signal is cancelled out, what remains is the audible frequency. So that's why you need to cancel it out. And that's the biggest challenge right now.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand that bit.
Oh, but-
Okay, but I'm curious as to how you got to the part where you think you need to have a massive sort of area that's coming from under your chair, which you could have your own audio presented rather than around here. But that answers my question. So that's good.
Thank you.
One of the things that always strikes me when you're pushing the technology now, which is
Yes,
really
of
given, and we know it's 2025 and beyond. One of the things I think is quite helpful when you're trying to promote something which maybe exists in some applications in this one, from what you're seeing in terms of military, but what you might want to consider in future presentations is almost like a timeline. So you could say, well, this is where we are here and now, and this is where this technology exists. Maybe it's just in a lab, maybe it's military and so on and so forth. You might want to explore how your product will gradually be taken from that point and introduced into a commercial venture.
Yes.
And it just, I think in some cases it just gives the audience, the viewer, an understanding of the fact that we're here, but we want to be, there. I think what you've done, Ashish, again going back to not just similar to Taylor earlier on, and Eddie and so on as well. What you've done from interim point to now, you only had a restricted amount of hours, really, taking account exams and so on and so forth. But what you've done is logical. You've essentially consolidated two into one. I think how you've done that is a good move.
Thank you.
And I think it now makes more sense having one thing opposed to two separate things that essentially do the same job. So it's moved in the right direction.
I'm not the product's pretty cool, but the concept itself is a really good idea, especially applying it to industry and the heavy industrial machines. There's washing machines being brought onto the market now. This week at CES in Las Vegas, with noise cancelling tech inside the drum, so that you basically have a silent washing machine. But it's been happening for the last few years, and it's definitely something that a lot of people are looking into. So it's pretty cool, really good.
Thank you.
I was aware of years ago there was a company it's for call centres, and your people have to wear headphones that's very uncomfortable. So they created two small tiny speakers that sat on your shoulder, so that you could hear it, that the people beside you could hear it, but it wasn't something that you're not wearing.
Yeah, so probably I could sell it to them.
something like that. What they actually did was they made it like a question mark. So you just hooked it around your neck, so it's a speaker sat there, speaker sat there, and the little microphone sat here.
Was that what that was?
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought it was like a loop or some sort of audio loop.
Yeah, well, I think someone wanted to do.
Yeah.
Are you developing any projects further, or is this where you start with these projects?
Well, this project is like an intro project, so the students have come to PD MSc from a variety of backgrounds, predominantly technical.
Yeah.
So this project is to kind of let's say allow more kind of flexibility, looking more at the qualitative elements of what the product could be opposed to the quantitative. So maybe having a bit more freedom than designing something purely to spec, and then bringing in a few different insights and skills and so on and so forth.
And from here, would you go forward?
Well, there's no reason why any of the students here couldn't take one of these projects from stage one, which is this semester.
Yeah.
And then when the final project takes place over the summer months, they can develop something that they've done earlier in the program. Okay. That's feasible. Equally, if there's something here that people want to push further, whether it's through Kickstarter campaign or working with companies like Chair or whatever.
Like the speaker form of it is very doable. You could modulate it with probably pulse width modulation, and you can have a battery, but it cannot be this small, because ultrasonic transmitters right now for 40 kilohertz, they measure around 16.2 mm. One ultrasonic transmitter, I would need at least 50 of them. So it would probably be like 120 centimeters, like this big disc, but it's possible.
There's if you were going to look further into this, then there's an active noise cancelling company based in Israel who are very, very good at creating noise cancelled zones.
Oh.
They do a lot of, if you go out and buy, as you do at the weekend, you go out and buy a nice new private jet, then your first class seats or whatever would all have an active noise cancelling area around. They've got headrests that come around, and they've been the first to promote that technology. It's really, it's a totally futuristic part of the market, and it's definitely
You said it's in Israel, right?
in Israel. Yeah,
Okay, that'd be
if I
it.
can find the company, I'll send it.
Yeah, please do
I'll send
that,
it.
yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rhys. Well done.
Are you're okay, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Everyone okay? Anyone need a break comfortably? That popcorn. Do you want me to give you a wee prompt maybe a minute ago?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simon Saad, and today I'm going to be talking about Pulse. Pulse is a concept that I have come up for a state-of-the-art wireless speaker system. Basically, when I got the brief, what I picked up from the brief was that we're missing the essence of user experience, the essence of how we used to share our music with our loved ones, and that thing has really gone with the devices that are currently in the market. So, moving as I researched further into this area, I looked into why do people have to listen to audio and how do they listen to audio. There were different types of answers from different types of people. I've interviewed some people. Some listen to it to reduce their stress. Some use it to relax. Some use it for enjoyment, for public parties and pubs and everything. There were different means by which people used to listen to the music, CDs, television, different reasons, and people were facing different problems as well. Some of them being noisy neighbors, new technology, always a young thing. So, what the inspiration for me when digging more into this technology was scenarios, like discussing these 4 scenarios specifically, where the first scenario shows us where you want to listen to your music, but you do not have access to it at the very moment, like the device, your audio devices are further away from you, like in the next room or something. Second scenario is that you want to share your music with your loved ones, like a father wants to share his old music, the one he used to listen to in the 80s, with his children and his friends, and to share the experience. Third scenario is relaxing, like you just want to come home and relax to your music. Fourth scenario is if you're having parties. There are different devices that you use to share your music, like boom boxes and LPs. All provide a different user experience. Yeah. The Pulse basically has motion sensors with integrated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth integration, which can follow you as you move from one room to another. Suppose you have these speakers in this room. You're playing your music through your app, and if you change your room from room seminar 1 to seminar 2, you're going to have a speaker like this over there. So the speaker is smart enough to understand that you're moving, you're not in this room currently and you're in that room. So it will stop the music in this room and start playing in the other room. Also, there will be a voice recognition system in the speaker, which you can train your voice, and you can give commands to play your music. You can share and stream music, and you can even hear live concerts. Have that experience with your family, like their concerts for violins and rock concerts. You can experience that at an additional subscription. I looked when I was going through concepts. Before making concepts, I researched into the speakers which are currently available in the market. The graph shows from size to indoor and outdoor, like what's currently in the market. The market for wireless speakers is very large. Like there's industry for $10.3 billion, and even just in the last year there has been an increase for 17% just for wireless speakers. So these are some initial concepts that I came through. They moved from sizes. The first one being, I thought, was very small and it did not have a futuristic look. Moving to concept 2 and 3, basically they improved upon aesthetics, and it had speakers and motion sensors were behind it. And this was the final speaker that I came up with. Showing it in the real life scenario, speaker would be in your living room, and as you move the rooms, the speaker can detect and understand your movement, it can understand your mood, and you can use your app and your voice to activate it. Thank you.
A physical model, or you?
I had this model, someone just took it away from the workshop. I made another one, but I've made this one in a hurry.
That's okay.
So,
And were you developing the form and the proportions when you were actually making the model, or had you decided to develop something in CAD before you moved into physical 3D?
sorry. It's really very rough. That was a more finer version of this.
Right.
It's basically supposed to be this. If you're placing this on a wall, like the sensor would detect your movement, and the speaker is in the front. So same goes for the voice recognition. I didn't mention this in the presentation, but this speaker, apart from being fixed, it is also portable. You can just take it along with you.
I think the blue band does look as if it's a hand in the sun.
Yeah.
One of the things I would say, seeing with your presentation, is that make more use of your imagery. Yeah, you've got evidence of sketch development and so on and so forth. Make more of that. You're allowing the majority of the space to be taken up by a background. And I would recommend that you make the background a background and give the image more priority and give more presence on the page. That would be one bit of advice. And again, when you're talking about the scenarios of the product, try not to use text to explain that. Try to use imagery, because what I'm finding is that I'm listening to you, then I'm reading the same information. And if you used images to basically convey that, you could
Scenarios were.
Yeah, or you had a video prototype to record all the time. You could basically reduce the amount of information that you have to verbally describe, and you could maybe use visual information or video to get that message across. But I think how it's moved on from where you were previously, it's a kind of seismic shift, because where it was
the complete range of sketches were not, because you limited us to a certain number of slides. There were more sketches that I put up on the blog,
Yeah, good.
So you'll see from there.
Like, I think this project, there's two ways to approach this project. This isn't focused at necessarily your project, but it's just seeing Shrishi's project and yours together. There's kind of like, there's either you can take a piece of technology
Yeah.
and then look for ways from your research of how people want to use, how people would use music and interact with music.
Exactly, basically,
And I think the other way of doing it is to look at user context, user scenarios, which you've got there, and you've got the experiences, and then using them to define what the product is and what the product does, kind of like the jukebox and things like that as well. So it's quite interesting that there is that range within the group. You know, that there's the technology-driven one, and there's the kind of the user one. But I think it's for everybody, it's really important to extract out how, you know, these contexts, these scenarios, these experiences, to then use that to define what your product does, because that's what's going to make your product different from an existing one. Because if you see something different in the way that people are now living and interacting with music, then the form of the product will change a bit as well.
I actually changed a lot from the entire presentation. The speaker was supposed to be part of a furniture, and it would be fixed into a furniture or something, but I dropped that idea completely because that would harm the speaker, the quality as well, the way in which the sound is resonating would interfere with the design of the furniture, and it might harm the design of the furniture as well. So I dropped that idea and made it a separate audio system.
It's a big departure in the right direction. You know, it's definitely really what
Yeah, basically the goal was 2025, and then you, in my feedback, you told me that aim towards 2025, and the things were already present that I did before. Speakers are still present, but we cannot control these speakers. But you have to use apps and everything. But apart from apps, there is this element of talking to your speaker, and the speaker will actually improve over time because it will. You're basically training your speaker to your voice and to your tastes of music, so it will just get better over time.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Do you want to signal?
Yeah.
What's the other logo that I keep seeing? What's the Mariah one?
That's ours.
Oh,
Kind of yin and yang,
yeah.
engineering at the moment.
Hello, I'm Tristan. And what I've tried to focus on in this.
Quick point, your name's not on your sheets.
That's what I told you what the name was.
I know,
Sorry.
No, just a point, because if I was to download this off Dropbox,
Right, yeah.
and I was looking at it later, because I wasn't involved in the project, I wouldn't know that you'd done that.
Okay,
So it's just a point, everybody should always take ownership of your items.
I'll bear that in mind in the future. Yeah, so what I really wanted to look at in this project is the way that we listen to music, and trying to make that a more immersive experience. In particular, I looked at live music. I spoke to people about what it was about live music that was so much more involving than listening to music at home. And it came down to the senses that we use when we're listening to music. If you think about listening to music at home, it's the sound in your ears. But in a live environment, it's very visual. You see the movement of people, you see light, but it's also very physical. You feel vibrations of the music and the people around you. And so what I decided to do was try and develop a product that would be a haptic playback device that would work alongside your headphones to kind of create this extra dimension to the music. And in terms of the user of the product, I wanted to look at it in the same way that anyone could buy a set of headphones of any age, any background. If you listen to music, you can use headphones. And in the same way, I wanted to create a playback device that was open to anyone.
So is the product a haptic playback device?
It is, yes.
Okay, it's not in the slide anymore. You know, like, you've put up the name of the project,
Yeah.
the Speed of Sound, but we had to rely on you telling us that it was a haptic device before we actually could understand, and then it sounded like it may or may not be. So just be clear so that we understand the rest of the.
Okay. So hopefully it should become clear. So there are kind of two different directions I could have gone with it. To start with, I looked at the way that deaf people listen to music. So when we lose the ability to hear, we develop ways of actually physically feeling it. For instance, Beethoven on his piano had a metal rod that came out from the piano. He stuck between his teeth so he could feel vibrations of the piano. And there's a musician, Evelyn Glennie, she's a percussionist. She's deaf and feels vibrations in various areas of her face. So that was something I thought about to start with, was having something quite subtle, maybe connected to the headphones, that would then touch on like pressure points of the face and would like gently vibrate to the music. On the other hand, I could have gone down the route of something a lot more full body, kind of, I had this idea of having various peripherals around the body, like on the wrists, on the ankles. I ended up deciding to go more towards that direction because it just felt like a more immersive way of doing it. And eventually I went for this kind of, I didn't like the fact that that middle design was lots of things you had to put on yourself. It seemed a bit of a hassle, so I went for a single piece of clothing that would integrate electronics to play back the music. And the way this would work, we use shape memory alloys, which would be embedded within the fabric. The alloys can actually be produced as really thin thread-like pieces, which can be actually sewn into the fabric using standard sewing techniques. So depending on the way that you orient the fabrics, they could either, the little image on the left shows it could either bend the fabric or actually squeeze it. So they'd be embedded within the fabric of the shirt. And in the same way that a visualizer, one that you use on iTunes or Windows Media Player, the music goes through an algorithm which then turns the music into a visual on screen. This would use the same principle, but it would translate the music into pulses and ripples throughout the clothing. So this project's been a lot about music, but I really feel like it could go into other areas of media quite easily. In particular, gaming, also movies. But if you think about playing a game, it's often a first-person thing. If you imagine playing a first-person shooter, someone shoots you, you could literally feel it in the place that you've been shot. And same in movies, it could immerse you within the character that you're watching. And should have a video.
Is your video in Dropbox?
Yeah.
Because I remember the intro presentation in Windows either.
No. Which I think the video worked. It was the first slide.
Is it the first slide?
I made it in Keynote and put it across. I didn't know if that's it.
that sound out those little speakers?
Yeah. I didn't even realise it was plugged in. I thought it was just going to come up.
See the clothing when it's pulsing.
Yeah.
What are you listening through? Are you listening through headphones? Are you listening through speakers?
You also listen through headphones. It could work with headphones or speakers, but I'd imagine it would be a wireless thing, maybe through Bluetooth. So in the same way that you plug in your headphones to your smartphone or iPod, you would plug this device into the device.
So if I'm walking through Sam's house, your device is connected to the little speakers.
It would react to the sound of those speakers.
Yeah, so every room I go into, I don't lose that connection.
Yeah.
I find it quite taken by the opportunity to look at different media and different genre. So the games market's obviously massive.
Yeah.
I remember the seats that I'd look for in the seats and they would move, play shoot-ups and so on and so forth. And also thinking now the games are becoming more of an online experience. So you're maybe competing with or against people of different parts of the planet. And that could add yet another layer of interaction.
Yeah.
So it could almost be the case that you could even send signals to somebody else. That isn't necessarily like a musical signal, but it's more like a haptic.
If you had sensors also built into it, you can
The virtual pat in the back.
Yeah.
Good job.
No,
There's a product that uses a similar thing. I think it's called the Hug Shirt. It's basically it's got pads on it, and it connects to an app on your phone, so you can touch the pad, and it sends it to someone else.
It's really Hug Shirt.
Yeah. So if you start incorporating it into apps, you could do all amounts of them. I was thinking you could like incorporate into like the GPS of your phone. Instead of walking around with your phone in front of you in a new city, you could just it could like vibrate to tell you to go that way or that way, or to let you know in your wherever you want to go.
What's the nature of the haptic response? Because you talk about ripples and things like that through the clothing.
Yeah.
If you go to a concert, you feel the bass either through your feet and you feel it in your chest sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, so is that what you're mimicking, or is it something completely different?
I kind of told you different. For different aspects of the music, you'd feel it in a different way. I imagine you'd feel the bass through your chest. If the alloys were to sit across your chest and then flex when the bass hit, that would then feel like a beat on the chest. But then you could also have like ripples down your arm for treble, other aspects of music.
Well, it's kind of adding to that experience, isn't it? It's not taking away from it. It's going to give you another layer. I don't know, feedback.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I like how you tapped into the gaming market as well. Virtual reality is something that's really come up in the gaming world, and I think that would be a good addition to a virtual reality world. Being able to feel things is also going to be the next step, so I think that's quite good. The music scene, I can understand. I'm not sure whether it kind of like your standard T-shirt does, how it feels music off of the bass drum kicking at a live show, and whether or not it would listen, it would accept a digital signal, if you like, put it through an algorithm, and then represent that somehow, or whether it would be able, your clothing would be able to hear the music or whatever sounds were going on in the world around you, and then reproduce them physically. I'm not sure if you think of that or not. Is it?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure.
I'm thinking, so when you play digital music from your phone, does it send a digital signal to your T-shirt and then decodes it, puts it through an algorithm, and then sends electrical signals through
the ship,
or whether you could have just a T-shirt that would be completely independent, but exaggerate environmental noise and
Oh,
live gigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to just wear it to a live gig, and rather than feeling
So
like
just
a
the
bass
ambient
drum,
noise would cause it to
Yeah.
vibrate.
and it
Yeah.
would accept that and just give you an extra kick.
Ah,
It's good. It's pretty cool. It's a cool idea.
Justin? Nikita, you're on Dropbox.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone care that flashing projector?
That light one, you said?
No, no, the projector's got a intermittent flash. Maybe it's something knocking about the setting.
Now we all realize it's there.
Yeah,
Hello?
maybe
We're all
represents
fighting
it.
for it.
Hello, my name is Nikita. The concept that I have made is known as Wheel Music. When we were firstly given the brief, we conducted a few interviews and did a bit of affinity mapping and found out a few design insights from the affinity mapping. The design insights that I took through the ethnography was that people needed a sense of touch, they needed another dimension in their audio experience. People love going to live music, they love the whole feel of experiencing it. Also the production equipment that's already present, it's very complicated, they wanted a bit of simplification in it. They also needed a new kind of music that's other than what we have right now, that is more of an electronic base, and they wanted a bit more of interaction in their whole audio experience. So that's when I came up with this concept. It's a new musical instrument which uses interactive plant technology. The technology is when you touch a plant, it reacts to your touch. So it's a form that where you can interpret that reaction of the plant. The musical instrument can be used by anyone, like from artists to anyone who wants to just play the instrument. And that's the concept, wherein it's of two parts. One is the base, where you grow the plant. It's more, you could say, environmental because everyone would be growing plants. It has a electrode around it which will interpret the signals. Those signals would be sent to the mixer, which would convert it into audio. The mixer can be connected to anywhere and anyhow. And it also has a digital format wherein you could just tweak the audio as far as you want. It has speakers all around it, so you could just use it. And that's the storyboard, wherein the first storyboard wherein the person is an artist, so he carries the basis to his studio where he just creates music and it gets digitally transferred to his computer or wherever he wants to enhance it, and then he can just sell it online. And the other one is a female who is a normal person and loves gardening. So she just grows plants in those vases, and her daughter loves playing music, so whenever they are bored, they just sit around in their balcony playing it.
Are you?
Yeah.
How does it work?
The electrode basically detects the voltage difference.
Yeah, no, I understand the electrical bit, the technology bit, but how does it work in terms of me using it?
You just touch the plant, that's it.
You just touch the plant and it
Yeah.
does.
And then you can tweak it with the mixer if you want to increase the bass or
So
whatever.
that's what I'm not quite sure. What is it I'm controlling? Like, because at first I thought I was going to be a musician creating music with it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've got it sitting in this setting.
You had a video pro.
You got a prototype.
I don't have it right now.
I might still have it. You
Yes.
try to explain.
So you've got the person sitting on the sofa there,
Yeah.
and they've got this. So what can you mimic it? Can you show me? You know, like but use. I don't know. That's a plan. There's a plan.
I might have
what do you do? Is it
video
like,
prototype. explain it.
I'm in the same boat, I'm afraid. I have no idea what just happened, so.
Let's do this.
Okay. No, I mean, I've seen people touch plants and you can get an electrical signal and you can do things with it. I've seen that happen, and you can wire up Arduino to vegetable and make things.
Yes.
You can have vegetable keyboards and banana xylophones and stuff like that. But the thing for me that I'm not getting is how you, as a musician, or me as a hopeless musician, how, I mean, what do I mean, I understand a guitar, you've got
Yeah.
frets and you've got strings, and I know the kind of theory, I can't play guitar, but I know the theory, like, how to try to get notes from it. So, I'm not sure, like, how do you get certain notes from certain leaves? How do you know what they are? Do you trim them, prune them? Do you, you know, like, what's the experience? What's the user experience?
It would be like the output would depend on how you touch the plant, and it would be new kind of notes, you could say. Like,
Yeah.
if you slide it, there would be a different type of audio. If you pinch it, there would be a different type of audio.
Can you use those and show us what you mean by it? You know, like, you obviously in your head you have an image of what you would do. So, if you were going to play a piece of music, what would you do?
So you just, I don't know, just slide it, do something like this. Slide it. It will create different forms of audio as how you touch it.
I know it's possible to create different. So I think for me it's I'm not getting, like, how would I interact with it? How would I know how would I understand how to use it? That's the bit for me that I'm finding
It will
difficult
come
to
with experience, as in whenever you start to learn a new instrument, you experiment with it.
But-
It's the same way.
But do you understand how to use it?
Yes, it's like however you like.
Because you've designed it
Yeah.
as objects. So
Yes.
what I'm trying to understand if the way that the objects have been designed and what they look like physically on your design, if that comes from the experience of using them. That's the bit, the connection, I can't make that connection in my head.
It's like
I don't know, I think I know what you're trying to say, but if I'm wrong, correct me. Are you trying to say it's sort of like, you know, you think of the old keyboards and you could set them so they don't take the note on the key, you know, it makes a random sound, and so you just like trial and error out the sounds,
Yes,
and then once you've trial and errored out the sounds, then you can purposefully create something afterwards.
So your leads would essentially be like your strings and your guitar.
Yes,
and
yes.
Yeah.
Individual ones.
Yes.
If you touched a certain part of the lead, you know, towards the end,
Yeah.
you'd maybe have different notes.
Mhm.
And every plant would kind of be different, so you would have to say.
But they'll also be different from day to day because when
Yes.
they grow,
Yeah.
they're
And
different.
probably
Yeah, so
that's
it
a
would
feature,
always
that's,
be
that's a good thing
learning
about it.
thing, yeah.
You've got to
I think part of the challenge here is that when we look at musical instruments, even relatively modern musical instruments like a synthesizer, they have gone through various iterations of development. So a guitar in its current form is actually quite an ancient bit of equipment in comparison to a synthesizer,
Yes.
yeah, because it's gone through so many things. You're talking about something which is really in its infancy. So through what you're proposing,
Yeah.
you'll be part of that development cycle. So in 2025 or 2050 or whatever, you may well have plants which have got ability to give us different keys, different scales, we can maybe play chords and on and on, yeah? So I think what I'm getting from what Stuart's trying to ask you is for you to start defining what that initial experience of use would be like. And who knows, in the space of 10, 15, 20 years time, that would potentially have developed. So coming back to what I was saying earlier on about almost having a timeline of how the product is introduced and then how it adapts and develops, etc., might be advantageous to you.
Yeah, it's kind of in
Well,
the
I
initial
have to say,
stage.
sorry, I have to say, I love it. I think it would be magic fun. I really do. And Stuart's touched upon something which is the plants growing, plants are seasonal in some cases, you know. So when they're flowering and so on and so forth, different sounds are being emitted. It'll be a real journey. And is it the same journey, is it the same experience every year? You can maybe go back to your data and say, what did it sound like at this time last year? And then see what it's like this time. What's it like indoors? Is it happier indoors, right? Is it happier noisy makes indoors, right? It could be a real journey.
I think, I like it as a concept, I like the idea, but I think in terms of communicating and selling it as a concept, the audience were actually reading more into it and providing alternatives, and and I'd said, when somebody said something, I said, yeah, but the leaf will grow, so therefore it'll change, so that adds another piece of information to the picture. But what was happening in the presentation is we weren't getting that from you in terms of saying, okay, I've designed this technology to allow someone to do this, 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 and this, and here's all the cool things that you do with it. And even by having a series of little plant pots and a piece of perspex, and you just mixed some music and just jived and played around with it and kind of chived, yeah. Then we would go, oh, now we get it, because we can see you interacting with it, because as soon as I asked you how do you use it and interact with it, you just stood and told me. That's why I said, look, show me. And then you said, well, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I said, well, so having props are really, really useful, even if they were just pieces of thread, or not thread, but sticks sticking out of little pods, like, and you showed us it, and you actually acted it out. By acting it out, you would then be able to refine that user interaction and then be able to communicate what this new way of playing music is all about, because you're inventing a new way of playing music. And that, by role-playing it, and that's what the video prototypes help to do. You don't have to always use a video prototype as animation. It could be you videoing people play acting it, and then add the music to it afterwards. So that for me was why I could find it interesting. The technology, I think, well, that's a good thing. But then what I'm doing is I'm putting my take on it. I'm not understanding what your take is on it in terms of that. So that's what I was trying to get. Thank you. Here on Dropbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just go. There you go. Do you want me to give you a nod when you're
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Hariyar Subramaniam, and my concept is a smart earpiece, a kind of a universal earpiece that you can use as a one-stop device to connect to all your devices. So here you can see the concept, and in context, like I'm connected to my TV, I can like switch to my TV whenever I want, and I can watch video on my laptop, and I could at the same time be connected to my cell phone. So basically this is a kind of model. It's like I shifted to my ears.
Sorry.
So once I received the brief, I uploaded it. I didn't have any kind of preconceived notions regarding it. So I wanted to depend on the kind of research that went into the project. So some of the key points that I got from the ethnographic research was like people wanted wireless earphones, and they wanted noise cancellation just to have a private zone for themselves. And everyone had like multiple sources of audio. They had multiple devices to connect to, and the biggest concern was the battery life. So when we started brainstorming about the ideas that we could come up with, one thing was, the first thing that was in our mind was to control live sound. Like, what if you could control the volume levels of live sound? And the next was to get alternative continuous sources of energy. And we came up with the thought of using your body heat to convert thermal energy to electrical energy, and also the electrical impulses from the brain. And this thought activated control was another thing that we wanted to do. And what if your earphones would have a display unit? So this pretty much summed up to a final concept, which is a waterproof and dustproof device, which is activated by the user's thoughts and can seamlessly shift between different audio sources. And it is powered by the thermal energy from the body, and also the brain activity could be used as an alternative source of energy. And it has a display unit that can, show an array of colors depending on the activity of the user. And as I said, incorporated live sounds. And the one thing that Shirish came up with was alerting for potential danger in the surroundings. Like, if you're on a different noise cancelled zone, it is important for you to, be alert of what's happening around. So if there could be a way in which you're alerted about, an approaching vehicle when you're on the streets, or you could customize it to a baby alarm to, just give in a ring when something happens, or also, concentrate to ring announcements. So it's highly customizable. So here's a concept like the earpiece goes into both sides, as you know. So the electric signals from the brain is used to activate the device, and it also acts as an alternative source of energy, as I said. So the display unit is kind of a indicative device for a social interactive status. Like, if you're busy and you don't want to be disturbed by someone, it just turns into a red color. And if you're okay with interacting with people, it turns into green. And also you could make it change colors based on the kind of audio source that you're currently listening to. So as indicated, the thermal energy from the body heat is used as a primary source of energy, and the earpiece houses all the electronics that converts the thermal energy that senses the brain activity. So that's it, and I wanted to show various scenarios. This is my prototype.
Do you have that video?
Just press escape.
Do you really think PowerPoint could serve its own video format that it could automatically convert it into?
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want to see if there's any questions?